Oh, hello everyone. I'm glad you clicked on this video. I'm glad you're here. You know how I love these little yap and throw sessions. I want to say thanks for if you asked me a question on my Instagram. First of all, you know I love to throw and you know I love to yap. And before we get started, I just wanted to remind you that this is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be relaxing. We're just supposed to kind of chat and hang out, kind of like besties. And I want to hopefully provide some kind of peace or comfort or companionship to you while you do something that is helpful to you or fun to you. Maybe it's your YouTube time and you're just relaxing. First of all, gotta put on the apron. I already got a little bit dirty from holding that, so I don't know why I didn't put it on earlier. We've got to clean off our stack of bats. That's always the first thing that happens. So to go along with the first step, I thought why not go along with the first frequently asked question, which was how did I get into pottery? When I was a little girl, there was a bank by my house next to the creek and it was actually full of clay, like just really malleable clay. And so when I was a little girl, I would go down there and I would collect the clay and I would like make little pinch pots and stuff. And I would bring them home and I would actually bake them in my mom's oven. And now listen, like I was a little girl, so I didn't know about any of the purification processes of clay and any of that. So, you know, there was probably bugs and gunk and, you know, twigs and all that jazz. And it didn't smell good, you know, because there's bacteria in wild clay by the riverbank. So my mom wasn't too happy about that. You could say. My first classes were in high school and I'm so incredibly grateful for my high school experience. I know a lot of people have had a questionable high school experience, you know, whether you regard it positively or not. And yeah, my first year was rocky and bumpy because I was like a sad 13-year-old or 14-year-old, however you are. But I honestly had such a positive high school experience. It was so wonderful. I really loved all of my teachers. I loved the trips that we went on. I loved our art department. I learned so much. And honestly, like my teachers there were the first people besides my mom to ever put trust in me and believe in me. Because of those teachers really believing in me at that young age, it made me want to show up for them. And then eventually it made me want to show up for myself. Maybe some of you guys have had ow, I just cut myself. That sucks. Fun fact, when I was young, I thought that not wearing shoes, drinking dirty water, not cleaning fruit, you know, washing fruit off before you ate it, all kinds of stuff like that was a way to strengthen your immune system. And like, especially with cuts, too. I was like, wow, you know, it strengthens your immune system if you don't do anything about it. Listen, I know that's not true now, but like, what am I gonna do about it? Band-Aid's gonna come off and I'm gonna throw. I need to throw. I got into pottery through being believed in by my pottery teacher, basically. And I still talk to her to this day. I think she is just the nicest and coolest person ever. I went to Kansas City Art Institute for a little bit, and then I went to go get my liberal arts degree in education and in studio art, and I was just helped out so much at my college and is supported to follow pottery. And even though a lot of people told me not to go into art as a career, the department head of the art department at my college was the first adult to truly say, dude, you got this. You have a career in this. You have something here. He looked at me like I was stupid to ask him, do you think I could do this professionally? He just looked at me and he was like, I thought that you already were. Of course you can. He looked at me bewildered. The SD card was full. My camera died. The mic has been absolutely messing up. There has been so many roadblocks in just getting started today. And you know, that made me want to say, not everything that you love that's positive and brings you joy is easy. You know, sometimes doing what's best for you, what's right for you, what's helpful for you, what's good for your future self, and what you want to do is a little bit hard. And that doesn't mean it's negative for you. let's keep going. Okay. To start, we're actually gonna be focusing on some big bowls, like serving bowls, I think, today, which leads me to this question, which is how do I decide what to work on? And this depends, honestly, if you're doing production pottery or if you're doing something for commissions or if you're just in creative mode and you're kind of doing whatever you want. Obviously, it depends on the purpose. But for me right now, I am in production mode. I'm working on collecting a lot of stock. As you can see behind me, all of these things that are unglazed, because I'm trying to get to 1,000 pieces before April. I'm gonna go to Door County and stock a gallery up there. So I'm really focusing on just getting a lot of the same thing done in a week, and then I move on to another type of piece of pottery the next week. The goal is to do a minimum of 50 of the same piece, and then if I can get over 50 within that week, that's great, but the minimum is to get 50. And what I'm discovering actually is that it's not decreasing the quality of my work and only increasing quantity. It's increasing the quantity of my work as well as the quality of my work, which I was not expecting actually. I was a little bit afraid of like focusing on quantity, taking away from my quality of work, but I've realized that the more that you go over repeating and intentionally doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, that your attention to detail and your skill with that piece actually gets a lot better. So I have a notebook of just drawn sketches of things that I know that I like, things that I know will sell, things that I know I need to make. So right now I'm focusing on fruit big serving bowls and chip and dip bowls, just because those are the same shape, the same thing. The only difference with a chip and dip bowl is that you add a little tiny bowl on it or in it. So it's something that I can do at the same time. It is so important to have time to be creative and explore though, you know, as well as it's important to make things that you have done before and you know are gonna work, because you still have to like, you know, exercise that playful creative muscle. And what I've found helpful for that is scheduling a day and time that works for you, where you are like, okay, if I don't get anything out of this work session, that's totally fine, because I've already done everything that I need to get done for this week. So it really like takes off the pressure of it needing to work out or needing to be perfect. And then I feel like you can really play around with shapes and concepts and just allow yourself to have that time freedom and like no pressure of outcome. Because in order to be creative and truly think about something new, you can't have such pressure under yourself of like, this has to work, I have to have 50 of this thing, you know? And relieving that pressure is so important to have that creativity, and it's so important to be creative as an artist and not only always be in production, you know what I mean? Whew. There's been a few air bubbles if you were wondering what I was doing, or if you're even watching, or if you're just listening. There's air bubbles, so I pop them and then you can just like heal them up with your finger. This person, which is so sweet, asked how close am I to having my own studio, or do I have one? Well, if you want to count my personal studio in my garage that I rent, it's, you know, it's not a public studio. It's my own space at my home, which I'm very, very grateful for. I am decently close, I think, to starting my own studio. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to start it this year or next year. I think a lot of progress is going to happen this year, especially with managing Door County, the Door County Gallery this year, which I'm so excited about and super grateful for. It's not my gallery, it's owned by someone else. I'm going to be managing it and earning money from what I sell in there. But you know, now that I say it out loud, I don't think I'm gonna get my own studio at the end of this year. That would just be pushing it, I think. Everything takes like 3 times longer than you think it's gonna take. So I think that getting my own studio is gonna take a little bit longer, but I'm learning a lot. All right, this bowl is done for now. Knuckleheads Pottery, you are so sweet and I love your work. I was thinking about this for a while since you asked it. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of potters that inspire me, but I want to recommend this one thing before going down a rabbit hole of names and whatnot. Watching documentaries on potters has helped me immensely. Sometimes I watch them while I'm doing pottery, and it kind of puts me in this like romanticizing role of what I'm doing. Kind of, sometimes I'll even pretend I'm in a documentary, but looking at these potters and seeing their careers and watching how they approach things and just looking at how much they respect the material and handle the material, and oh gosh, I just love pottery documentaries. And Goldmark Gallery on YouTube has a bunch of them. They're usually all UK artists. And honestly, like the US needs to get on these pottery content. Like, are you kidding me? We don't have a pottery throwdown in the United States. I actually applied to the Great Pottery Throwdown and I got like accepted for the application, but I had to be in the UK to actually, you know, fully go through that with the application process. They don't accept non-UK, you know, citizens. And I was like, I didn't know that. Apparently Canada has a Great Pottery Throwdown too. I don't know why we don't have one, but I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if I can open my own studio within a year or two, I'm gonna host a pottery competition. I am. It's gonna be countrywide. Maybe it'll start small, maybe it'll just start, you know, town-wide or maybe statewide. But I mean, with having a little community of us on YouTube and on my Instagram, I'm sure we can spread the word and we can host our own Great Pottery Throwdown. And I'm so down to organize that. I am so down to do that, and I want to do it so bad. So trust that we will have a Great Pottery Throwdown in the United States, led by the Pottery Lady. A lot of people actually asked about training and going to the gym, and I think that's so cool that a lot of people are into that. My brother was a bodybuilder, my mom was a bodybuilder, and she was also a judge. So I was inspired by them and I learned from them a lot. Now I do it independently, but I actually started from doing the 75 hard challenge. And if you guys know what that challenge is, it's quite hard. If you don't, you should look it up. But it was a big push for me because at the time I did not identify as a person who goes to the gym. I did not identify as a lifter at all. And through going every single day, my identity of myself shifted from putting workout on a list of things that I needed to do today to not even needing to put it on at all, because I am just someone who loves to go to the gym. I am just someone who loves fitness and I love lifting and I crave it now. Next one, next one, next one. All right, Gabe's Galleria. Thanks for asking this. And no, I haven't talked about being brave and taking the leap to create. And I think that this is such an interesting concept and this is such an interesting thing to think about. It's simple and yet it's complex. You know what I mean? Like when I first started pottery, I wasn't good, okay? I wasn't good. I was in high school and the first thing I made was a pinch pot. And I loved it. I just loved the process, and the possibilities of what you could make just seemed endless, and they are. And I think that that's just what was so captivating to me, was the endless possibilities of things to try. But my point with not initially being good is that the things that you want to do are not always going to be the things that you're immediately good at or immediately praised for. You can't limit yourself to doing the things that you're immediately good at. You can't limit yourself to only doing the things that are achievable and easy for you, and the things that you feel like you can accomplish with immediate praise. I never actually thought that I could be a full-time potter like I am now, and it's definitely not easy. I mean, I'm trying way harder now than I actually ever have, and I'm also struggling more than I ever have, and I'm challenging myself more than I ever have. The reason why I feel like things are ramping up in a way of like, you know, there's more challenges than ever, I'm investing more money in this than ever, I'm more busy than ever, I'm getting more opportunities than ever, and you might hate this, but it's amazing what you can accomplish when you have no other choice, right? I did a lot of jobs. I worked as a teacher, I worked in a coffee shop, I worked at Starbucks, I worked at TJ Maxx, I worked at Jimmy John's, I worked at Subway, I worked at a camp, I worked at Stretch Zone. I was miserable, and I was doing it because I wanted to fund my pottery career. You know, I wanted to find a way to just keep working so that when I got out, I could have enough money to do pottery full time. And I was realizing that my safety net of working another job always just made me have one foot in the door of that job and one foot with pottery, and never two in either direction. And that just made whatever I did not 100% good in any direction. And I'm not saying that you all need to like quit your job in order to be good at something. That's definitely not what I'm saying at all. But if you do want to do something full time, you need to take your safety net away and push yourself off of the cliff so that you can build the plane on the way down. You have to make yourself scared. It's scary even saying that, but it's amazing what you can accomplish when you have no choice. It's just true. And if there's something that you are dying to do, and for some reason you can't make it happen, look at your like safety net. Look at what you lean on instead of jumping in. And unfortunately, take away that thing. Nothing worth having is easy. I love your name. I love that. Paige Make Pots. I love that. That's so cute. That is the cutest thing ever. How did I start selling my pottery in the beginning? Well, when I was a beginner and I was still in college, but I started throwing in my home in 2020, I started selling to my friends online, you know. They saw what I posted on Instagram and they wanted some Christmas gifts, so that was like real small. When I did my senior exhibition in college, a lot of what was on display there was sold to parents and visitors or whatever that came to the gallery. That was really cool. Also not necessarily something intentional. So the first time that I started selling pots intentionally, I just wanted to get into art fairs and art markets, craft fairs. What I learned is don't go to a farmer's market, okay, and expect to sell high-end art. That is just a lower market. That was actually my first one, and I learned that lesson very quickly. Also, unless your pottery is like a lot of small, kind of lower price range, like pendants or little things or like little dishes and mugs, I wouldn't recommend going to a craft fair. Craft fairs are more geared towards kind of like the crafty side of arts, and not necessarily like the high-end price range that pottery can typically fall under. And I went to a lot of art galleries through Zapplication, so that is a great place to find them. Although I will say that after doing art fairs and seeing what was involved with just like the time and the price of the booth and the setup, and like, you know, the booth fees are $500 and up, and like, you know, not to freak you out, but you know, the tents can be $500,000 high quality tents, like trimline tents. And then of course, as a potter, you need the shelving, collapsible shelving. You need a truck for all of your stuff. It's not like we have like little flat paintings. Oh my goodness. So the setup and everything that comes with art fairs, I actually don't think that I'm an art fair artist anymore. That is a great place to make some sales, but it's not something that I'm going to be seeking out a lot going into the future. After that, I moved on to Etsy, which I have a shop up now, but I'm not selling anything on there currently. I just do like limited time drops. And Shopify is also good. You can also list things for sale on Instagram, so you can directly have like a shop link through your Instagram. This person asked, what's the next biggest thing that I want to accomplish right now? That's a really interesting question. I think it's a good question. And I think that it's a good question for all of us to be asking sometimes. Goals obviously are a good way to point into a direction. And then from that direction, you can kind of work backwards and like, okay, what do I need to do 6 months from now, and then 3 months from now, and 3 weeks, and what do I need to do this month, and then what do I need to do today in order to accomplish that, you know? Again, creating systems to guide you to become a person who's going to achieve that. So if you can't already tell, I've been reading Atomic Habits by James Clear, and that is such a good book. There's concepts that are so simple, but the concept is explained in a new type of a way that's really gonna hit you. Like, I know of a lot of these concepts before, but it's hitting me in a new way where it's truly changing how I think about who I identify as, and then how my thoughts of myself then shape my decisions. I'm not sure who said this, I can't remember right now, but they said that the most important statement that you could say is I am, because then whatever precedes that, whether it be positive or negative, is going to dictate your actions. I am a procrastinator. I'm bad at math. I'm not a technology person. I am not capable of that. I'm a problem solver. I'm a good person. I'm a kind person. I'm an athletic, fit person. I'm a healthy person. How are those things, how are those I am statements going to shift how you act? And I think that's just so incredibly fascinating. And I'm thinking about that a lot. So I think the next big goal for me is to completely be independent and accomplished in having a ceramic business. I was thinking about plants today. I was looking at this plant that it's been having a really hard time in my house in the winter time, and it's kind of looking scraggly. And in the middle of it is a little sprout, a fresh new green sprout. And it just made me realize plants are so persistent. They're so steady. They don't freak out, and they always will find a way to grow. Like, you know, have you ever seen like a beautiful flower or like a weed growing out of the crack in the sidewalk? And you just think, how are you doing that? They just didn't give up. We'll be successful one day. We will. Which I feel like kind of leads me to this question, which is like how pottery can mirror the human journey. And oh my gosh, dude, it's so in every aspect of it. I mean, even when you think about any kind of art. I think this is why art is so important in the world and to people and to human beings in general. Art mirrors the human experience. It is a physical, visual representation of how we think and how we interpret the world. And I think that that's just so valuable, because in any other medium besides speaking, it's not visible or tangible. You can't explain it. And that's why the written word and art and in paintings and in pottery and in poetry and in writing and books, it's just so beautiful and important. And that's why it hits people. I think that's what helps us grow as a society is, I think art's at the front of everything. I do. One of the things that I think I really enjoy about pottery is the concept of breaking down and then being rehydrated, wedged into completely a malleable thing again, and then being reborn as something else. And perhaps, you know, you rush that process and you're not patient and it breaks. And then you have to take that same piece of clay and break it down again and reclaim it, you know, rehydrate it, and then start again. And I think life is such a, it's such a process of metamorphosis. And the reason why I say metamorphosis rather than just growth is because metamorphosis is truly the process of the caterpillar completely changing into something else, completely being able to fly from being a little insect. There is no version of yourself that you have to hold yourself to, because that's just who you've always known. Everything's always changing. You have to allow yourself to be maybe a beautiful thing and then also be broken down again. You ever went through a stage of your life where you just feel like, ugh, I hated myself back then. It's just, yeah, I'm so gross. I don't even like any of the pictures of myself. Which I had that. I had a stage of my life where I didn't take any pictures of myself because I didn't want to be reminded of who I was. And now I really like that girl. And I wish I could give her a hug. Because she went through a metamorphosis, and you have to be strong to do that. And it's a process that you can't fight against. It's so beautiful. I wanna make this into a mushroom cat. I wanna flip this edge over. It's gonna get real floppy. I don't think it might not work. This might be a flop. Last one might be a flop. Are you kidding me? It's okay. This is reclaimed clay, so it's like real floppy. We did this little, there's hollow in there. Maybe, I don't know. This is going downhill fast. I don't think this is gonna be anything. All right. What a way to end the video, talking about growth and playfulness and challenge and confidence and bravery. And gosh, you guys were on a freaking roll with these questions. That was honestly a little bit stressful for me to feel like I needed to focus on what I was making, as well as making sure I was like answering your questions specifically and not losing my train of thought. But I think it's appropriate that we end on a failure, because we cannot be too shocked when the process of trial and error involves the error part. You know, we gotta embrace that. The whole challenge, the whole process, the whole struggle is part of that metamorphosis, it's part of that growing. Thank you so much for your thoughtful, really cool questions that got me thinking. And I love to go down a train of thought. You know me, getting on this wheel immediately starts to yap your ear off. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, you should definitely do that so we can do another one of these, number 3 Yap and Throw, somewhere down the line. It's Marlaina the Pottery Lady. I'll put it right here. It's also in the description. So please remember to keep enjoying the whole process, keep experimenting and failing, and please remember that art is so important, and so are you, my friend. I had a great time with this Yap and Throw, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you next time.